While Moses was on Mount Sinai receiving the 10 Commandments, the Israelites became impatient and demanded a new god. They melted their gold jewelry to create a golden calf, directly breaking the commandment, "You shall have no other gods before me," Exodus 20 verse 3. Aaron, Moses' brother, complied and crafted the idol. The people then indulged in sinful behavior, celebrating and worshiping the golden calf. God informed Moses of their corruption. They have made themselves a molten calf, worshipped it, and sacrificed to it, saying, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Egypt." Exodus 32 verses 7 to 8. When Moses saw their idolatry, he shattered the tablets of the law in righteous anger. He returned to the Lord, pleading for forgiveness on behalf of the people, even offering to have his name removed from God's book if their sins couldn't be forgiven. Moses said, "Oh, what a great sin these people have committed. They have made themselves gods of gold. But now, please forgive their sin. But if not, then blot me out of the book you have written." Exodus 32, verses 31 to 32. God responded, "Whoever has sinned against me I will blot out of my book. My angel will go before you." Exodus 32, verses 33 to 34. Moses' self-sacrificial plea foreshadows the ultimate sacrifice made by Jesus, who died for our sins, demonstrating a heart full of sacrificial love and mercy. In the biblical books of Kings, we find the story of Moses and the bronze serpent called Nushan. The image, mentioned in the book of Numbers, depicts a serpent coiled around a pole. After their liberation from Egypt, the Israelites began to complain about their difficult conditions. In response, God sent fiery serpents among them, which resulted in many deaths and suffering. Following Moses' prayer, God instructed him to raise a bronze serpent on a pole, promising that anyone who looked at it would be healed from their snake bites. Over time, the Israelites started worshiping the bronze serpent that Moses had made. This practice persisted until the reign of King Hezekiah, who reformed religious practices and destroyed the bronze serpent, calling it Nushan, meaning a piece of bronze. 2 Kings 18 verse 4. This story highlights that even miraculous objects can become idols if worshipped. The bronze serpent was intended as a temporary solution for healing, not as an object of ongoing worship. This serves as a powerful reminder that our worship, praise, and thanksgiving should be directed only to God. Even things with a miraculous history are not worthy of our worship. When God called Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt and into the Promised Land, it was a pivotal moment in his life. Moses, known as the lawgiver and mediator of the Old Covenants, encountered God at the burning bush, where God asked him to be the deliverer of his people. God promised to lead the Israelites to a land of abundance, Canaan. 40 years after fleeing to Midian, Moses returned to Egypt with his wife, Zipporah, and his sons, Gershom and Eleazar, under God's command. However, before he could fulfill his mission, Moses faced a dire situation. He had neglected to circumcise his son, Gershom, or Eleazar, possibly due to Zipporah's opposition. This act of disobedience almost cost Moses his life. The Bible records in Exodus 4 verses 24 to 26, "At a lodging place on the way, the Lord met Moses and was about to kill him. But Zipporah took a flint knife, cut off her son's foreskin, and touched Moses' feet with it. 'Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me,' she said. So the Lord let him alone. At that time, she said, 'bridegroom of blood,' referring to circumcision. Moses' failure to perform the sacred rite of circumcision, which symbolized God's covenant with his people, indicated a lapse in obedience. This negligence could have been influenced by the customs of his Midianite tribe or Zipporah's distaste for circumcision. Zipporah's anger and decisive action to circumcise their son saved Moses' life. This event highlighted that God requires those who serve him to be holy and obedient. Despite being chosen to lead the Israelites, Moses needed to address his own shortcomings. God's severe judgment was a reminder that he is holy and does not tolerate disobedience, even from his chosen leaders. By ensuring that Moses corrected his mistake, God emphasized that spiritual leaders must live righteously. In essence, before Moses could teach God's law to the Israelites, he needed to align his actions with God's commands. Sometimes, it seems that Moses was harshly punished for a minor offense when he wasn't allowed to enter the Promised Land. His frustration with the Israelites led him to strike a rock, which doesn't seem like a significant reason to bar him after all he had done. Moses witnessed the 10 plagues, led Israel out of Egypt, parted the Red Sea, received the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai, and won many battles. Why would a single mistake at Meribah prevent him from seeing the land God promised to Israel? The Israelites often complained about the lack of water. In Exodus 17 verses 4-6, God instructed Moses to strike a rock at Horeb, bringing forth water. But in Numbers 20:1-13, Moses, frustrated and disobedient, struck the rock twice instead of speaking to it as God commanded. God punished Moses for this disobedience because it distorted an important symbol. The rock represented Christ, who was to be struck only once. 1 Corinthians 10 verses 1-5. By striking the rock again, Moses ruined the symbol of Christ's once-for-all sacrifice. Thus, God prevented Moses from entering the Promised Land to preserve the integrity of this spiritual lesson. When Moses and Aaron confronted Pharaoh, demanding the release of God's people, they demonstrated their authority through miraculous deeds, as found in Exodus 7 and 8. Moses' miracles were extraordinary, highlighting his unique role in history. The Bible notes, "No prophet has arisen in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face." Deuteronomy 34 verse 10. Even with such power, Moses faced opposition from Pharaoh's magicians, Jannes and Jambres. When Aaron threw his staff down, it turned into a serpent, but Pharaoh's magicians did the same. However, Aaron's serpent devoured theirs, serving as a forewarning to Pharaoh. Exodus 7 verses 8-13. Pharaoh's magicians were able to replicate the first 2 plagues, turning water into blood. Exodus 7 verses 19-22, and summoning a swarm of frogs. Exodus 8 verses 5-7. However, their power was limited. They failed to replicate the subsequent plagues, admitting, "This is the finger of God." Exodus 8 verse 19. Despite their efforts, God's power triumphed over their dark arts. Their inability to help the Egyptians highlighted their true intent, showcasing their power rather than aiding the people. Ultimately, Satan's limited authority cannot match God's omnipotence. This serves as a reminder that even in the face of supernatural displays, God's truth and power prevail.
If you found this video enjoyable, please consider liking and sharing it. Additionally, subscribing to this channel will ensure that you receive more updates in the future. Thank you.